Well, that was The Lone Ranger, and in this video I want to talk about a powerful technique for writing dialogue inspired by something I heard the Lone Ranger say many years ago. It's a vital aspect of dialogue, and when done well can have the reader eating out of the palm of your hand. But a lot of new writers don't even know it exists. It's called implicature. So welcome to another installment in my series on how to write your novel using that most unlikely of writing implements, a round Oxford bus ticket. For inspiration, we're taking the bus down to St. Giles and getting off outside this place, St. John's College. Founded 400 years ago, it's probably one of the newcomers on the block round here. Its famous alumni include poets Philip Larkin, Robert Graves, A.E. Housman, but we're going in search of a fellow and don called Paul Grice who worked here before the Second World War. And he it was who coined the term explicature to mean in dialogue when you say Y but you mean X. Sometimes it's referred to as subtext. Now, Grice was a codebreaker during the Second World War, which is a happy coincidence, because when we use subtext, we're talking in a form of code. But what exactly is it? Well, this famous scene from the movie Annie Hall demonstrates it perfectly.
A quality.
Well, I would like to take a serious photography course.
Photography is interesting because, it's a new art form and a set of aesthetic criteria have not emerged yet.
Well, we all do this in everyday conversation, don't we? We say one thing and mean another. But in a novel's dialogue, it is vital because this is how we smuggle in meaning without anyone noticing. And I will also argue that it contributes to the page-turning effect in part, in that it helps you create a novel the reader can't put down. Now, Woody Allen and Diane Keaton play it for laughs, and it's a funny scene, but handled well, subtext can introduce some very powerful effects, not just raising laughter. And to see what I mean, I want to examine a short story by Hemingway, which is widely regarded as a masterclass in subtext. It's called Hills Like White Elephants. And in order to illuminate the brilliance of it, I want to make use of a technique I discovered in a book many years ago called Storytelling for Lawyers by a man called Philip Meyer. And in one of the chapters, he tells the story of a trial in 1991 of a mafia foot soldier, Louis Failla, who was on trial for the murder of one Tito Morales. And the FBI had bugged his car, so they had hours of recordings of him self-incriminating, discussing the murder he was planning. It seemed like an open and shut case. But the feds hadn't bargained for the genius of defense attorney Jeremiah Donovan, because in his summing up to the jury, he held up big cardboard speech bubbles in which he explained what Failla had said on the recordings, and then he held up thought bubbles to show what he really meant. And apparently it turned out that he never meant to kill Morales at all. He was just playing for time so he could save the guy's life. Well, I can never stop laughing when I imagine the looks on the prosecution faces with that. So let's apply it to the Hemingway short story. Hemingway is famous for coining the term iceberg theory. He means the deeper meaning of a story which remains unspoken and remains unseen like the submerged part of an iceberg. But because the writer knows about the omitted parts, they will inform the story nonetheless. He wrote, "If a writer of prose knows enough of what he is writing about, he may omit things that he knows, and the reader will have a feeling of those things as strongly as though the writer had stated them." Hills Like White Elephants is a great demonstration of this. It's a very short story, maybe a handful of lines, about an American couple on a railway station somewhere in Spain waiting for a train to take them to Paris. They order drinks and indulge in small talk. And they refer to an operation but never specify what it is. But we sense, despite the fact that there doesn't seem to be much actually going on, we sense something really powerful beneath the surface, namely, love's expiry date. Let's apply the thought and speech bubble technique to the text. The girl's nickname is Jig. The man is not named, just referred to as the American. He says, "It's really an awfully simple operation, Jig. It's just to let the air in." But he thinks, an abortion is just. Jig replies, "Then what will we do afterward?" And she thinks, "What if it changes everything between us?" And he says, "That's the only thing that bothers us. thinking, if you just do this, we could be happy again. And he adds, I don't want you to do it if you don't want to. And he thinks, if it goes wrong, you can't blame me, you chose it. Jig says, everything tastes of licorice. But she thinks, whatever happened to the man I met in Paris? The title of the story comes from Jig's early remarks about the hills. They look like white elephants. To which American replied, well, I've never seen one. Thinking, can't you ever be sensible? Every line in this story is filled with meaning. Take the railway lines, they lead straight on to a future, don't they? But what future? Well, it all depends on the decision that Jig makes, doesn't it? And like life itself, the train won't wait. And what about those white hills? Well, traditionally it was said that the king of Siam would give an albino elephant to courtiers who displeased him because the cost of the upkeep could be ruinous. A bit like an unwanted child, perhaps. And there's also the sort of hint, isn't there, of the elephant in the room, the subject that no one wants to talk about. There are 3 reasons why subtext is vitally important, 2 of them quite minor and 1 of them much more significant. Firstly, it engages us with curiosity, doesn't it? We find ourselves having to read on to figure out what they are really talking about. And it also mirrors how we speak in real life. We dodge and evade, we imply, don't we? We never ever call a thing a spade a spade. But there's a much more significant reason for subtext. Remember me mentioning the Lone Ranger? Well, we'll see what he had to say on the subject after this short commercial break. He might be the saddest man you've never heard of. Born in Liverpool in 1887, abandoned by his mother at birth, brought up in an orphanage, he had his hour upon the stage in April 1912, because Frederick Fleet was the lookout on the Titanic. It was a prelude to a lifetime of depression, penury, and iceberg-tormented dreams.
Oh, and the lookouts have been warned to keep their eyes skinned for ice.
At 78, when his wife died and he was evicted from his home, it all became too much. He left a note. My dear Dorrie, I am sorry for what I am about to do. Another Titanic man gone. He was buried in a pauper's grave, plot Z 404. And there he lay in obscurity until 1993, when he finally got a headstone, courtesy of the Titanic Historical Society. What will your monument be? Get Gateway to Narnia, your free 10-part email course on how to write your novel. Gateway to Narnia. The link is in the description below. Because we all have a story to tell. Cognitive psychologists call this gap filling, which means that if information is withheld, we will automatically supply it. Partly because it's like solving a puzzle, and we enjoy solving puzzles, but it goes deeper than that in fiction, because if we have to make up some of the story, if we're given scraps of information to work with, and then we invent, well, we become co-creators in a way, don't we? And we become responsible for the fate of the characters, and this binds us to them in a very powerful way and makes us eager to follow their fate and see what happens. And because it's never resolved, because Jig never tells us her decision, then long after the story's over, the possibilities revolve in our mind. But it's vital that we don't give the reader too much information. The Lone Ranger said, God put the firewood here, but it's up to us to light it. And it's the same with subtext. We give the readers the firewood, but it's up to them to light it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. If you did enjoy it, please consider sharing it. And don't forget to grab Gateway to Narnia. And if you're interested to find out more about Hemingway's Iceberg, take a look at the video that should be on screen now.